this edition of 2020 Daily Trail Markers, Senator Bernie Sanders is unveiling a new plan to tackle the issue of medical debt. His newly released plan calls for the removal of nearly $81 billion in medical debt, as well as the removal of medical debt from credit reports. The plan comes as a 2019 Gallup survey found Americans collectively borrowed an estimated $88 billion to cover health care costs. The same survey also found that 65 million adults had a health issue but did not seek treatment over concerns about costs. In recent weeks, the Sanders campaign has held town halls to hear from voters who have struggled with medical debt. Over the weekend, voters in Iowa shared their stories.
My fiance and I found out the week before I started my new job that I was expecting. And I was hopeful. I crossed my fingers and I made my first prenatal appointment for after my employer-sponsored healthcare was supposed to kick in. 3 weeks later, I was rushed to the ER for emergency surgery. I had an ectopic pregnancy. As I recovered from that, the bills just kept coming in. Each one was just more salt in the wounds of losing this pregnancy, which was something I had hoped and prayed for years. And the hospital billing department offered me a payment plan. It was about $40,000 in total. The bill for the surgery, the facility, the physicians, the anesthetists, the nursing staff, and I didn't even stay the night. They had me out by 9 o'clock that night.
Say that again, please. I'm not sure I caught that.
I wasn't even kept overnight for observation.
The bill was how much?
About $40,000. The hospital offered me a payment plan. It was $100 a month, and it would have taken me 33 years to pay off. So on the first of the month for the rest of my life, until I was 71 years old, I was planning to sign up to get a bill to remind me of this horrible time in my life where I lost this pregnancy and also lost my fertility. I was never able to conceive after that. So it was going to be 33 years of this bill showing up every month, and I was despondent, I was depressed, I was wanting to die at some points, and I have this vague memory of the hospital billing staff saying, well, you should apply for state assistance because you might qualify, you never know. And I applied, and just by a miracle of chance, I was about $100 under the income cutoff, and my entire bill was paid like overnight by Iowa Medicaid.
Let's bring in CBS News 2020 campaign reporter Kara Corti. She's in Dubuque, Iowa. Kara, you asked the senator a short while ago about his reaction to hearing people share their stories. Let's listen to some of what he had to say.
This is the wealthiest country in the history of the world. We should not have people delaying the medical treatment they need, not taking their medicine, going bankrupt because we spend twice as much per capita on health care as do the people of any other country. It is an outrage. It is cruel. It is barbaric. 30,000 people dying a year, 500,000 people going bankrupt. On the Medicare for All, no more premiums, no more out-of-pocket expenses, no more co-payments. We fund it out of the general tax base, and the overwhelming majority of the American people will pay significantly less for health care than they do today.
Kara, you've been at a number of these events. How do they typically start, and what is the mood like?
Well, the mood is very similar to what the senator just told exclusively to CBS News. He describes these medical debt situations as obscene and outrageous, and you feel that from his supporters at these events. People take the mics to tell their own stories. Their voices are shaking. They express their nervousness. Senator Sanders will often say, "You're among friends here. You're safe here." This hits people to the core. They are financially burdened by these medical debts, and the mood is solemn. It's something that Senator Sanders will often do at town halls. He encourages people to share their stories, but this was an interesting example where the entire event was dedicated to these Americans struggling to pay off medical bills.
Kara, I know you heard some really tough stories in that town hall. A woman who had a miscarriage and couldn't afford her medical bills, a veteran who couldn't afford his medical bills, so much so that he said he was feeling suicidal, which is really tough to hear. Walk us through Sanders' plan for wiping out medical debt. How does his plan compare to those of other Democratic presidential hopefuls?
Well, this is a plan that right now Senator Sanders stands alone on. We all know that he wrote the bill for Medicare for All. Other candidates have come alongside him to support that. They believe this is a second prong to their approach to helping Americans alleviate medical stress. What the plan intends to do is eliminate up to $81 billion that Americans across the country today have in unpaid medical bills. What they want to do is cancel that debt. They also want to strike it from your credit score. So the way they plan to do that is through negotiating with these insurance industries between the government, and they believe that it is a way to uniquely position the senator. Everyone knows him for Medicare for All, and this is something that can set him apart.
What are you hearing from voters in response to the senator's plan to eliminate medical debt, as well as his Medicare for All plan?
Well, it's really interesting. It's definitely his calling card. It's what people most know him for. Just this morning, I was with the senator at an event at a high school, and a 13-year-old 8th grader said to me, "I don't know a lot about Bernie Sanders, but I know he's for free health care, right?" So again, this is what people know him for, and if that's happening with a 13-year-old girl who can't even vote, just imagine how it might get people out to the Iowa caucuses this winter.
If a young child can remember his message, certainly many people are. A recent Des Moines Register poll shows Sanders is third in Iowa, polling at 11%. Does his campaign feel that his plan to eliminate medical debt and getting people's stories out in the open can help bring up those numbers?
That's exactly right. They certainly hope that it will be a help. Again, it's something that he stands alone on. He's the only one right now that has a medical debt forgiveness plan. And when you see these emotional moments as they happen in town halls and as they get shared across social media, they're hoping that this will galvanize people who feel this burden themselves, that he is someone who can help alleviate that.
Kara Corti, thank you for your reporting.
Thank you.